who here has a difficult path and everyone is like a me.
The book is absolutely real. In order to be of service to the people who would be reading the book, wouldn't it be awesome if this place really did exist? If 1 million people begin to think that way, or 1 billion people begin to think that way, wow.
We're here today talking about a new book called The Orchid, The Secret Code of Modern Goddesses. I'm joined by the co-authors, Rocio Aquino and Angel Orengo. Angel, Rocio, thank you for joining me today. Welcome to the conversation. So I go to a lot of book signings and book events. A few weeks ago in Los Angeles, I went to your event, The Orchid's book signing. I was amazed by how much emotion there was in the audience. There was a lot of smiles, a lot of sobbing, happy tears, just a lot of people kind of going through an emotional experience. What I'm curious about is, what are we missing in our lives that your book, The Orchid, helps us recognize?
What a great question.
How beautiful question. I think, to be honest, that we are perfect already and we forgot.
Yeah, I think we forget that at the core, life doesn't need to be that difficult. It's not that complicated, that we allow ourselves to be complicated by the things around us, by the things that we're told, by the way we think our lives need to be, by the number of houses, clothing, shoes, everything, right, that we need to have. And so the moment you bring it down to the basics and you're like, yeah, life should be simple. We are okay. We're just learning here. We're like in a school, and the teacher wasn't angry because we got it wrong. On the contrary, it was just like, oh, don't worry, I'll teach you, you know?
With me, and what I see that can resonate from someone else is that they know and they understand that they are not alone in this journey. That
Right.
that really the struggles that they are feeling is real. So they are feeling like this is difficult. And everyone at one point is like who here has a difficult path? And everyone is like me. So that connection that is not superficial, but is more in a deep way, when you are in a group setting, after being so disconnect, really to talk about the important things that matters in life, has another connection. And I think is that.
I think we've gotten in large amounts of feedback by now. Some people are touched by the fact that someone has written a book selflessly to help them. So I know there were people that were touched, very, very much touched by that. And now you've read. And so I think you understand what that means. Is really, it was all about how do we help the reader get to a different place, right? Go from point A to point Z, right? Mm-hmm. There is people that are for the first time find themselves in an environment where they can treat themselves with some kindness, where maybe they haven't stopped to think about that before, because we try to block it because it's easier to numb pain than to experience it and let it go. Other people they're like, wow, it's not that complicated. And so I'm just so happy that I found this now, right? I mean, I think it's just all of that energy. And I think, look, I mean, the energy in the room that day was really powerful. And when you're in the presence of that energy and by presence I mean the collective. It wasn't us, it's we. Emotions come to the surface, and that's how we clear emotions, and that's how we clear energy. So it's a combination of different things. And I'm at first, thank you for sharing that, because I didn't realize that that was happening. I saw smiles, and I look at some of the photographs, and there was seriousness, but I never saw people really just, tearing or sharing of themselves in that manner.
For us, lately we have people has an effect,
Yeah, a reaction
a
with
reaction,
us.
but of course we don't have idea. We don't have idea. And remember, we have two daughters, and they continue to be teenagers. And it's like they bring reality really quick to be to our
Right.
house. So of course it's like how can I keep center? Right? So it's beautiful what you're saying, and I'm so thankful.
Yeah, thank you.
Going to the actual book itself, the characters, the backgrounds, the descriptions, even the retreat center itself, the Orchid. What parts of this book are real? What parts of the book are fiction? And what inspired the fictional parts?
Everything happened like the book in general, everything is real, but never happened all together.
And not to those people.
And not to those people, because we know that some of the places exist, and then all the situations exist, and this is the way the tools are. So really is fiction, because still until today is not a place that you can go for free to heal in this way. But in the moment that someone open it, let's hope we're gonna do it. That is what we wish to happen.
Yeah, the characters, the book is absolutely real. Every single thing that happens there has either happened to us or happened to someone we know, or we've read it in the news, right? The story about the model and the sexual abuse, that's real, right? It's happening in the modeling industry now, where they have gone through their own Me Too movement. So there are elements, for example, there is a scene in which Olivia is doing a silent walk, and she has a vision of her mother near her. That's something that has happened to you
Yes.
a number of times, about your own mom who passed away
Yes.
many, many years ago.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's a scene in which Olivia is speaking to her father, and you've read her story. It was a difficult relationship, and her father wasn't the best version of a father that he could have been. That a lot of it is after my own experience with my own father, who I met 3 times in my life, one of which, the longest, was 5 hours, right? And so we took pieces and were able, through the help of everyone who collaborated in the book, to construct these characters that brought together all these experiences. We wanted to write just the story of, really, Rocio, who kind of morphed into Sophia. And then we realized that we wanted to tell more, that we needed, that in order to be of service to the people who would be reading the book, we needed to tell more stories, because there are so many things happening to women out there that we don't hear about, that we wanted to do justice by representing as many of them. And so that's where it all comes from.
And the same happened to us when we were writing the book. We were crying.
Oh, constantly.
crying and crying. And at one point, I put it down. We were crying like a wow. And then we did it first in English and after in Spanish. And then we crying in Spanish. So was like a, okay, I'm continue to heal. So was the process was for us to
Intense, was quite
really,
intense.
yes.
And the experience that you're having, everyone is sharing similar thing, which is it's simple, but as I'm going, I find myself thinking about things that I've never thought about in my own life. I need to put them down, and sometimes it takes me a little bit before I pick it up again. So it's like peaks and valleys of intensity.
We're talking a lot about the emotion behind the book. So, as the authors of the book, how do you feel now knowing that so many people out there are having such strong feelings and discoveries from the pages of your book?
You never know how is gonna be received your work, to be honest. Even that we have a very strict culture of not judging anyone. Be totally neutral. We are gonna make suggestions. We're gonna do our experience, but not to impose, only to show how this way of thinking took me to another place who is more comforting and more freeing. So now that people are seeing is a pleasure, is humble. I feel more humble every day. Like oh my God, this is incredible. Like that. Right away, like, thank you. Thank you.
There was intentionality in what we were writing. Um, the book came after our first year of deep introspection into who we were and how we wanted to change our lives. A lot of self-help books. And at the time that we started writing, it was about, well, how do we share this with people who normally don't have access to information? Also, people who don't have resources to go and spend, time in a retreat for a weekend, or spend $1,000 or 500 or 5,000, whatever that is. And our thoughts, and Rocio came about, and it was we should do television because this is sort of our background. And it was okay, let's do TV, but let's own the intellectual property, the story behind it, so that when we sit down with the people who are going to help us craft the TV show, we have a say in how it's made. Because right now, I think, Joe, what ends up happening is that people don't think that love is powerful enough to deal with the issues that you have around you. We think that we have to combat anger with anger or force with force. That's what we've been raised to believe. And we've gotten to a point where love really does conquer all, but not in the way in which we were taught. And so when we approached the book, it was, let's do it with a lot of love. And we said, and if we can help one person, it'll have been worth it. And everyone who we are connecting with is having similar reactions to you. And so it's so humbling, and we're filled with gratitude beyond belief that we were chosen, selected, inspired to write what we wrote and to put it forth, and not just write it, but really now be the face of it and take it to as many places as we can.
That's the main point. When someone come and say, makes sense what you did, it's like, oh, thank you, because now it means that I can continue to share. with more people.
Yeah.
And if more people feel better about themselves, that is incredible. Like really, that is our main point. Is like I want to invite everyone to our party. And the party is really is you are feeling better about yourself. Great. So it's about that.
You've mentioned that one of your goals is to bring the Orchid to a real life situation, meaning bring this fictional retreat center into real life. Where are we today with that goal, and how can the audience who's watching and listening right now help you get to the next step of bringing the Orchid to real life?
You want me to speak to that?
Yes. It's because wow. Imagine how incredible really is
Like anything, well, we now know this. We didn't have it as clear before. Everything in your life begins with an intention, right? Waking up in the morning, getting up from your bed, right? Everything is an intention after an intention. The first and most important thing that we want is for people to truly enjoy the book. Because through the enjoyment of the book, there is a transformation that's taking place in the individual as you are experiencing and collectively, right? We now understand that the way to change the world, and even though this is not the ultimate intention, is kind of the indirect intention, we can make this place a better place to be for all of us. And it begins by me feeling better about myself and you feeling better about yourself. And it begins by all of the things that that these women are experiencing in the Orchid. And so, to your question, the first thing is for people, and it's happening already, for people to say, wouldn't it be awesome if this place really did exist? And these transformations were taking place. That alone, that thought in itself, if one person says it, it's a big deal. If 1 million people begin to think that way, or 1 billion people begin to think that way, wow, it is about the power of what we have to manifest. So that's that. In terms of where it is, the Orchid as a center, as a retreat center, I think there are versions of it throughout the world already. There are many places that exist. I think those places will be inspired when they read our book to say, we can go to a different level. We can do more to expand the way we're doing this. Why don't we copy that? I hope they do, because ultimately that means that the Orchid will sprout in places in which it's already existing. We do think that there is a series of other things. There are podcasts down the line. There are television shows that we've mentioned. There's a digital community that we would like to work on and develop. There is a nonprofit, because there are going to be issues that will require that approach. And I think within the context of all of those, we're going to continue building this community that ultimately is going to want to continue conversations as to how do I deal with this? What are other things that I can teach? Even though we attempted to do a very complete sort of experience of a 7-day experience at this retreat center, the truth is that the experiences can vary greatly, right? And there's so much more out there. We only depicted a number of healers. The number of healers and healing modalities out there are endless. And so I believe it will happen. We have had initial conversations with certain people about it, but I would say it's in early stages. And I would most rather encourage everybody who is already well advanced into a retreat center to look at themselves and see if there's anything that can be learned from ours and create their own Orchid, so that we can help more people around the world.
Yes. So take the lessons, what you learn, and really is how I can begin to have a conversation with someone who is feeling better about himself and what we can do together. So I would love to create from that place when people feel better
Yeah.
about themselves and that you don't have any stop. And it's how we can collaborate, because wherever you bring to the table is unique.
The book is called The Orchid, The Secret Code of Modern Goddesses. As we wrap up, for people who are listening and watching the conversation and they want to hear more, they want to go buy the book, they want to read the book, what's the best way? Tell us your websites, your social media. What's all the ways we can learn more about the two of you and the book, The Orchid?
Is so many ways right now. Is we have the web page is theorchidbook.com. Then you can see the in English and Spanish the book and where to buy it. You can buy it in Amazon and Barnes and Noble, Apple, and we have the audiobook too. And the exercise, if you want to do a book club with your friends, you can do some exercise and they are in the web page. We have a beautiful, how you call it, Instagram and Facebook for the Orchid book.
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook,
The
TikTok,
the Orchid book.
the Orchid book, the Orchid book _
Yes. And then you can follow Angel or you can follow me and you're going to have a lot of fun too. The most important is read the book. And if you like it, share it with more people because it's for being of service, really.